Welcome to TerraOnTheBench.com. I'm Christin, your host. I'm your local environmental scientist and friend, and this is a place for us to have open discussion on eco, news, and lifestyle. This is the podcast and YouTube channel, and we have a lot to discuss. Let's get started. Let's just get into it, shall we? In today's video, we're going to watch 3, and it's going to be about textiles, the cost of fast fashion, creating products that are to serve the people and their trends, outfits, accessories, nylon, all these materials, they can't be broken down. These textile materials take years to break down and decompose, if not at all, right, in our lifetime. So one of the things we're going to look at are the cost of fast fashion. Where do textiles go? Where do clothes go when they are no longer needed? Can they be recycled? Are they being recycled? We'll get into that. So this video here came out 2 years ago by CBS News, and it is the environmental cost of fast fashion. Let's begin.
Did you know it can take nearly 2,400 gallons of water to make a single pair of jeans? You see, how we make and buy clothes is hurting the planet. But here's a potential solution. The fashion industry is one of the most pollutive in the world, accounting for an estimated 10% of global greenhouse.
And to me, it just never stops. The need for clothes, according to most people, does not stop. And I'm wondering if it ever will stop in terms of the just constant 24/7, 365. You're going to the stores. There's so many stores. There's a H&M everywhere. Forever 21. All these places just always have something new. And I'm wondering if they have any initiatives to recycle the clothes that they no longer sell, or recycle clothes, or use recycled materials to create their clothes. Let's continue.
Gas emissions. And as climate change intensifies, experts say it is critical to rethink how we produce clothing. Traditional manufacturing is already harmful to the environment, and after consumers throw away products, they end up in landfills.
See, look at, do you see this landfill? This is in our other videos. We're going to watch specific locations that have these landfills for textiles. A lot of times too, textiles have to be burned because there's nowhere else to put them. You know what I mean? And the materials that are being released into the air, respiratory issues, we're breathing that in. I don't know about you, but I do not like smelling my clothes after a long day. So imagine we have all these clothes just in the mud, rained on, just sitting there. People probably didn't wash the clothes after they threw them away. So it's like, what else are we smelling? Well, what are these gym clothes? Are these a day in the life of a construction worker clothes? Yeah, accumulation of sweat, gunk, and grime. I'm just trying to exaggerate on well, it's really not an exaggeration. It's what it is. It's very much disgusting.
So one solution is to keep them in use longer. Companies are doing this now by accepting customers' used clothes for store credit, allowing new customers to then buy these used goods at a discount. According to ThredUp's 2021 resale report, the value of the secondhand market is projected to double in the next 5 years to $77 billion.
Yeah, I just hate how it took so long, and it is taking so long because we haven't completely founded and structured consignment and reusable clothes in the system, in the stream of fast fashion. And why is it taking so long? Why is it so hard to do that? You could find some really great things at a thrift store. Listen, when I go to a thrift store, I get those days, yes, where I find absolutely nothing, but that's mostly a me problem. That's like, I'm not energized. I'm not ready. You caught me off guard with the thrift store. But on other days, you find everything. You find some really good clothes, some really great deals, some things that you already were trying to find. For example, I was at a thrift store and I found 2 different colored Adidas jackets. Less than $20. Listen, if you're going to an actual sports store and you're getting an Adidas jacket, you're going to spend a pretty penny. But if you go to a thrift store, maybe you weren't looking for it. Maybe it was on your list of things that you wanted to find eventually. If it happened, it happened. But in this case, you find things. Awesome. But I will say some people just might not like the idea of going to a thrift store, using someone else's items or finding someone else's clothes or wearing someone else's clothes, but that's a them problem. That's more like a why do you need fresh clothes? You know, people try to be bougie and they're like, "Oh, well, I got me a fresh fit," or "I don't rent, I own," and stuff like that. They just have that entitled, "I deserve this." Yes, in your opinion, you probably do deserve great things. Maybe you're a good person and you work hard, you work hard for your money and you want to spend it on whatever you want to. But that's selfish. It really is selfish. And that's just not what it is. I know sometimes, yes, you can't always find something that you need at a thrift store. For example, if you're going out on the town, you need a great ball gown or some type of cute outfit. Maybe they don't have exactly what you're looking for at the thrift store. Then there you go. There's your opportunity. Go crazy. But if it's just for fun, you know, I'm sure you could find something. And also, this just might be me, but sometimes you don't really need a great outfit. You just got to look right, you know? Sometimes it doesn't matter what the outfit is. If you can make it work, that's a talent. That's a skill. Okay. See, for me, I could get something from the thrift store and it'll look like it was from Nordstrom or what other luxury, whatever, right? That's just that. I don't have to go into those stores and do that. It's just extra and bougie. That's not the environmentalist mindset. So,
Dollars. The CEO tells CBS Money Watch over the next 5 years, as younger people gain more purchasing power, it's critical that brands figure this out.
oh yeah, don't get me started on the young people. They love the fads. They love the fast fashions. They love Temu. They love Shein, right? And it's like when things are that cheap, you have to wonder why they're so cheap. These are the questions that you, as an environmentalist or someone who cares about the environment and your resources, have to ask yourself.
Who's coming in the driveway?
Where are these materials coming from? How much of the materials are being used in their production? How much of the materials that they don't use are being used for newer products? And these are things we have to ask ourselves. If not, what are you doing? Are you okay? Are you selfish? Do you want to be a selfish person? No, I don't think that's what you want. But let's go on to the next video. And this one is Fast Fashion Exposed: The Effects of the Growing Industry by Green Match UK. This is produced 1 year ago. And let's begin.
Significantly impacts the environment. Every year, clothing sales double from 100 to 200 billion units a year, while the average number of times an item was worn decreased by 36% overall. 92 million tons of textile waste is produced every year. An estimated 11.3 million tons of textile waste end up in landfills, which makes 500,000 tons of microplastics. The fashion industry produces 20% of global wastewater. It takes about 2,700 liters to produce one cotton shirt and 7,600 liters of water to produce a pair of jeans. The market size was valued at over £95 million in 2021 and is projected to reach over £222 million by 2030, growing at a CAGR of 10.13% from 2023 to 2030. The industry is responsible for about 10% of global carbon emissions, more than all international flights and maritime shipping
crazy.
combined. Today,
And guys, you might be wondering, how are clothes involved in carbon emissions? Well, it takes a lot of energy and fossil fuels from these industries to produce. Sometimes you might see smoke coming from these industries, and that's the smoke and fossil fuels that are being emitted from these machines that are inside these industries. Now, we like our fashion. We do. We like looking amazing. We like dressing and feeling good because it boosts our confidence. And it just is what we need. We're human beings. We need to clothe ourselves. Got it. Great. But that doesn't mean we can't use the resources that have already been made and produced to satisfy our desires of what we want to wear, how we want to look, how we want to feel, and present ourselves. We have enough clothes that are literally sitting in land piles and we're not doing anything with them. And we should prevent that from happening to begin with. And going back to these industries too, they're very energy intensive. So they use a lot of energy, electricity, and fossil fuels to produce clothes that you're wearing, right? Not only that, the transportation of these materials. We've got trucks going to and from different cities, boats using coal to fuel their ships so that they could take their clothes from country to country. And some luxury items are overseas, they're foreign. So, how do we get them here? Plane, sure, we've got carbon emissions from the planes, and then we have ships and boats that use coal to fuel their movements. We've got that. Now, what about the dyes? The dyes in your clothes. How do we get our clothes pink? How do we get our clothes green? Right? How do we get them dyed? Well, we're using very much harmful chemicals. We're using synthetic fibers, dye treatments. If you watch videos of dyeing clothes, it's like a pool of liquids, chemicals, colors. Where does that liquid go when you're done coloring the clothes? Right. It's got to be disposed of in a way, which is in a water system somewhere. We can't fully erase the dyes that are in the water. The water has to undergo some type of very strong and reactant process. Okay. Now, what about the microplastics, microfibers that are released in the environment, in the streams? We can't see these, but they're there. You know, we're wearing our clothes, they're rubbing up against us, but then where is it going? Some people wonder too, the dyes that we're wearing, if they're toxic to our skin, if we're very sensitive to certain dyes and colors, imagine what it's doing to the environment. If you get very sensitive skin from certain materials, some people are allergic to polyester, wool, blah, 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 blah. If you're allergic to that, then why would we release that into the environment? If there's some type of irritant, imagine how that would be to the environment or other parts of the natural world. It's very terrible. But, oh, and we haven't forgotten about the water usage. They said in the video, there's about how many tons of water being used?
The fashion industry produces tons of
500,000 tons of
microplastics. The fashion industry produces 20% of global wastewater. It takes about
20% global wastewater. 70% of Earth is water. 50% from this statistic is usable water. But we have not accounted for any other pollutants that account for the 50 or 70% beside the wastewater. So that's another issue. So this begs the question, what choices can you make? Now we're getting into some solutions. What choices can you make when determining what clothes you want to wear and how to be mindful with your clothing consumption, textile, fast fashion? Well, organic cotton. Organic cotton is biodegradable. And naturally, cotton comes from the earth, right? We've got cotton fields and things like that. Obviously, we want to shop locally as well. Where do we get our cotton? Let's get our cotton from the United States, like Southern California, places like that, where we have cotton fields. And these fields provide us with organic cotton. And organic cotton is biodegradable. If we are getting organic cotton from another country, I mean, it's no better. You still have to transport those products all the way to a different country, like Asia, back to America, and things like that. Get your cotton from a local source, and you're doing your part in that way, as far as your choices are concerned, right? But it's not always that easy to just be like, oh, let me just go into the store. Oh, is this organic cotton? This is exactly what I need, but is it organic cotton? No, it's not. Well, I need this outfit though. You don't need the outfit, you just want that outfit. I'm sure you could look great in something else that is organic cotton. Now, for me, I'm more of a recyclable type person. I like to go to the thrift store and get my clothes. Yes, these items are not always organic cotton because whoever bought the item first didn't think, oh, this is organic cotton. I don't need it anymore. Here it is. But the fact is, you're not buying something new. So somebody already did the deed of buying the item, and now you're taking it and using it without having to consume something new and fresh. Okay, you can look good and fresh from a recycled item. Okay, trust me. It's just how you put the look together and how your appearance altogether looks. Okay. Now, You might want to use recycled polyester. Polyester is synthetic material and it is not biodegradable. So this is the type of item that you might want to use recycled. Okay. You could also go with linen materials. Now, we've got one more video to watch. Now, this next video is from Now This Earth, produced 4 years ago. It's called Fab Scrap, helps fashion brands recycle textile waste. One small step. Yes, this is a small step, but it is huge impact. Now, I first discovered this video a while ago when I was just randomly scrolling, trying to figure out how can materials and recyclables be recycled, right? And I came across the video and I was like, wow, why isn't this more common? So let's begin.
All of these trash bags are filled with fabric that was rescued from landfill. And there's a lot of it.
Oh, look at that. That is crazy.
Fab Scrap is a nonprofit with a mission.
Those type of bags are the type of bags I have when I'm recycling to, let's say, St. Vincent de Paul Parish for donations, or the SPCA. And there's always some place where you could give your recycled clothes. You may have even noticed some of those bins randomly placed throughout your city that are like tin bins. They're like metal. I'm sorry, not tin, metal bins. They're placed all over the city. So I feel like there's no excuse for not being able to recycle. Just pile everything up in a corner in your house or in your car. Wait till you have enough to be recycled and then just toss them in the bins. Yes, it might be inconvenient for some who don't like to do that extra work, but it's a good thing, man. If everyone did this, then there wouldn't be this much accumulation of textiles going to landfills, right? So let's continue.
To end textile waste. Jessica Schreiber founded Fab Scrap in 2016, and to date, the nonprofit has partnered with over 500 fashion brands to rescue over 500,000 pounds of fabrics from going to landfill. Jessica was in.
That's really cool. Partnering with over 500. That's a great brand deal. You can make great brand deals doing this. So if you want to be helpful, you can also get paid a little bit by, supporting brands, being partners with a brand that already has that has enough material and resources to need to be recycled. Get yourself a pretty penny and a great partnership,
Inspired to start Fab Scrap after working at New York's Department of Sanitation.
I was running the city's clothing recycling program, and brands were asking me what they could do with all of their fabric waste that wasn't clothing yet, like all of the excess from the design process, and there wasn't a great place to send them or a solution for them, and so Fab Scrap's trying to solve that problem.
How big is this specific waste problem that you're?
Whenever you have a problem and you are offering a solution, people and companies will come to you for that solution. Okay? Now, why there aren't more nonprofits or organizations that do this is crazy to me.
You're trying to solve?
I mean, part of what we're trying to solve is that it isn't really measured. A lot of businesses don't measure their waste or report their waste or even figure out what's inside of it. And so that's part of what we're doing, is just trying to characterize what businesses are throwing away. But the best estimate that we have is that for every pound we throw away as a consumer, a business threw away 40 pounds to get us that product. So 40 times greater than residential.
Also, guys, please let me know, how do you dispose of your materials? How do you dispose of your clothes and the items that you no longer wear? Do you throw them in the trash? Do you pile them up until you're ready to send them to a recycling post or a recycling container? Do you let your friends use your clothes? Do you give your clothes away directly to someone? Do you give your clothes to the homeless? Do you give your clothes to the homeless? What do you normally do? Or do you ever get rid of your clothes? If that's the case, hey, that works too. But do you consume more than you give? Do you consume more clothes than you give out? Lately, I will say that I have been giving a lot more clothes away because I feel like a lot of the clothes that I wear don't fit, or they just aren't me anymore, so I have to give them away. Have I been obtaining more clothes? No, I have not. So it's more like I'm giving away a lot of clothes. And sometimes another idea for, sustainable clothing disposal is have a closet raid. Have maybe your friends or someone that you trust to go in your closet, pick out clothes that you don't use or don't want, or think that they would look better in. Because sometimes that's the case. Like you thought that the outfit was cute, and like you thought the outfit was cute, but apparently, I don't know, it just doesn't give you anymore. It just doesn't give your characteristics or your qualities anymore. That's how it was for me. I'm speaking from experience.
Residential waste.
It sounds like this corporate waste side of things isn't measured, and it's way worse than what we kind of feel bad about as consumers.
And that's the thing too. Corporations and businesses, they don't measure their waste. They measure their profits. They measure their bottom line, but they don't measure the disposal and the impact that they have. Unless they're a B corporation and they have some type of measuring system that can provide the system with proof and evidence that they are environmentally friendly and environmentally conscious. That's one thing. But a lot of corporations aren't even on the B Corp list. They're not even measuring their waste. And I feel like that should be regulated. Let me make note of that.
That is where Fab Scrap works, is like in working with businesses to reduce their textile waste, but also just making consumers aware of how much businesses waste in creating products.
So what are the main items that you're getting from these companies?
So we're getting all of the
I don't know if you guys have ever sewn before or created a little garment, but a lot of the material, sometimes when you're sewing, not all the material is used. So, sometimes you have to cut the seams, you got to cut little pieces out, and then where do you throw those items? Where do you throw those little pieces away? You might throw them in the trash, right? Because they're so little and insignificant. You don't just want to add a pile just for those little pieces. I get it. That is the predicament. However, this is what we're saying for larger corporations who do this all the time, have little scraps and pieces. It piles up. I don't care if it's this tiny or this tiny of a scrap that you don't need. It's still waste. And over time, if you're a big corporation, have all these clothes, you're going to pile up. These little pieces turn to bigger and in large clumps. Okay, so it doesn't matter the insignificant piece of it. It matters the accumulation over time and the amount that is being accumulated.
The fabric waste before a garment. And so it's fabric swatches from fabric mills, excess yardage, mock-up garments where designers are just kind of like playing with fabrics and designs, unused yardage, end-of-life rolls, cones of yarn, zippers, buttons, leathers, really like anything.
And then you get those end-of-life rolls of fabric that just have that little piece. Like, what can you do with it? The garment is finished, and this tiny little piece of the garment roll, how is it going to serve us? So yes, we have those instances where we don't have any more use for the material. So where do we put it?
Over in the design process we take.
Is it challenging to have to recycle all those different types of materials?
Not that many different types of materials actually. And so what we're doing is separating out fabric from non-fabric and usable from non-usable. Okay. And in those broad categories, we can pretty much like redistribute or recycle most of what we get. I think in general, we only send about 3% of what we get to landfill.
So you're sending 3% to landfill. 3%. What is happening to everything else?
We're able to reuse about 60% of what we get. So we have sales from our warehouse.
She said 60% of the material is reused and 3% of that material has to go to the landfill because there's no way to recover it or to recycle it. Makes sense. Good job.
Where people can come and shop what's coming in. We have a new store in Manhattan where people can shop fabrics at like thrift store prices. And then the other 40% of the fabric gets shredded and becomes insulation or carpet pad.
Ooh, 40% of the material becomes insulation, shredded, and used for things that a shredded fabric would be useful for.
Padding or mattress stuffing. And then
mattress stuffing.
Really what goes to landfill is like stickers, staples, rubber bands, binders we can't reuse, things like that. All of the incoming material right now is sorted with volunteer help.
So materials like stickers, binders, things that they can't use.
We've had over 5,000 people come. It's a lot of fashion students, a lot of emerging designers, artists, crafters, home sewers, quilters, some people who are just interested in behind the scenes of fashion or interested in waste. It's open to the public, so people can just sign up as they're interested, and they're helping us sort things for reuse or recycling.
Oh, wow.
For finishing a session, which is 3 hours, you get 5 pounds of fabric for free.
So this is where the volunteers stand during their 3-hour shifts. And then in front of me are bins that are for each category of material. So I see wool, polyester, cotton.
I love sorting. Does anyone else think that sorting is zen? Do you get relaxed when you're sorting things and looking through things that you might want, or just like looking at the colors and the designs? Me? You? Okay, cool. I would love to do this, actually, volunteer. Is this in New York City?
Even a bin for paper, they've thought of every possible outcome. It's so inspiring to talk to you because it sounds like you had this idea, you saw a need, and you created this amazing nonprofit. What would be your advice to other people who maybe have an idea to solve an environmental problem?
I think that's like the key is like make sure whatever your idea is for a business or an organization is like solving a problem, and then talk to the people who are involved in that problem. Like Fab Scrap is the service that it is because I asked brands, what do you need and what would make this convenient for you and what would make this easy for you to do. And so if you can make it easy for people to solve their own problems and be part of a solution, then I think you'll have real buy-in and more impact.
And why is fabric waste so bad? What's the big deal about it going to a landfill?
Yeah, I think that's like the core question of like, why do we even care? I think it's more and more fabrics are synthetic. Polyester, in particular, is basically a plastic, and it's different.
It's the material. Some of the material cannot be degraded, biodegraded, or broken down. So it's just sitting there.
From other types of plastic, in that it's not readily recyclable, and it just breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces that enter our waterways, basically never biodegrade. And so that's one of the main reasons, is just like problems at the end of life. But there's so...
It's cradle to grave. We want cradle to cradle. Okay, cradle to grave means that you're creating something from scratch and it's going to a landfill or not being used again at the end of its life cycle after its use. Cradle to cradle is when you create something and then you use it again. See, cradle, baby, it's fresh, new, and then you go back to the cradle, fresh, new. You keep it at that ability to, you keep it at a place where you could use it again and again.
So much existing fabric that if we could save all of the resources in creating more by using what we already have, I think there's a bigger impact there in the reuse than in the actual recycling.
Can we get a tour of this amazing warehouse? I just see so many things that I'm so curious about.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
This is how we get the fabric. Black bags for proprietary, brown bags for non-proprietary. Everything gets weighed in and then transferred to these black bags until we can sort it so that these reusable bags can go back out to brands. The black bags make me cringe a little bit just because of all the plastic, but it's the most affordable way for us to store everything by brand. We do reuse them over and over. So
you could try so hard to be part of the solution and have a solution that works, but there's some parts that no one can get rid of that just are not sustainable or that aren't aligning to your cause, which that's with a lot. So let's continue.
For now, it's necessary evil.
Always about trade-offs. You guys are doing a good thing. I'll let you pass on the plastic bags. And then what about these clear ones over here?
So this is all the material that has been sorted. This is what we'll take to the shredder for recycling. This is the shredded fabric. It's called shoddy, S-H-O-D-D-Y. And shoddy's used here to like stuff pillows or stuffed animals, but more industrially it's used in insulation and carpet padding, mattress stuffing. Wow. So this is our
dog bedding
option for now. Until there's technology to go fabric back into fabric, we're going fabric into other things.
It's soft.
That makes sense.
It's really comfortable. Honestly, I feel like I could take a nap.
There, but you don't even know if that was washed.
I mean, they put it in mattresses.
Oh, well, there you go.
So
that's a sustainable mattress.
Yeah.
It's gotta stop.
This is all excess fabric that came in with the bags and is totally reusable. And so people who come in to shop can just let us know how many yards they want, and we'll cut them as much fabric as they want.
And I'm seeing down here we have like some fur and things.
I think that's why
we keep all leathers and all furs, real or fake, for reuse.
What's like the wildest thing you've...
I think that's why Joann's is going out of business, because we got things like this that are recycling these fabrics. Okay. I'm just kidding.
found in one of your bags?
The other day we found 2 neon pink little fox heads. One of the weirder things that have come through. But I think more just shocking is like the quantity. Like we'll get full leather hides. And just because there's like one little rough patch, they couldn't use the whole thing.
You got that one odd material. Yes, there are some of those materials like sequins. What about sequins? Like the plastic pieces that are on women's dresses and tops sometimes? Those definitely are not recyclable. So what would they do with them?
More the quantity than like what the item is. This is a newer section in our warehouse. We started creating racks of mendables. Working with a lot of brands, we'll get sort of their mock-ups and samples and they'll mutilate them so that they don't go directly to resale. But we work with so many fashion students and a lot of like home sewers who could like mend something like this.
Okay,
and
cool.
so if you're
And it's amazing to see that when we walked in, there was volunteers everywhere. You said this was a quiet
that part
day.
right there. I would definitely be a volunteer for something like this because it'll be very zen for me sorting things and color and material and fabric and touching things. If you're a very hands-on person, maybe this will be nice for, touching the materials, the fabrics, some ASMR type situation, right? So this would be great, and it's a great way for people to also get the materials that they need for their own projects at a discount or for free. As she said, that you get 5 pounds of free fabric after your volunteering shift.
Jessica was inspired to start Fab Scrap after working at New York's Department of Sanitation.
Okay, so yes, it is New York. And New York has that sanitation issue. You got trash bags all up on the street, weird trash juice on the side of the road. And I bet, and it's a fashion place. It's a fashion town. So people love fashion. You got fashion shows. So what are in these fashion shows? Clothes, outfits. Where do they get rid of them? We've got the fashion design school, right? And they need access to fabrics and things like that. So this would be a great city for something like this, recycling these materials, because it's a high end, because it's an ideal location for needing scraps, for needing textiles to accommodate the fashion schools, the fashion companies, and recycling and trash. Trash is very abundant in New York City. It's just very dense and just concentrated. So people have to concentrate their garbage on the side of the streets. I've seen it. It's very nasty. But it's also a great opportunity for ideas to be more sustainable and recycle. Not only just trash, but textiles and things that you don't normally hear about often that need to be recycled or discarded. Okay? So yes, today's discussion was about textiles, the cost of fast fashion. What do you guys think about this? Do you think there are any other solution beside recycling? What do you guys do to participate in the recycling movements? What type of clothes? Are you a fan of cotton more than polyester, nylon? What about it? Give me your thoughts. Let me know. Please like and subscribe. This is a fairly new channel. I hope you guys like my setup. I do. Please like and subscribe to the channel. It is new. I want to grow it very much, and I want to talk about these things. It's an open discussion. I like hearing people's opinions, and I love going into deep conversation and dialogue on these things. Please visit my website, terraonthebench.com. That's where I have everything that you might want to know about me and my work and some of the projects that I like to do. Thanks again for joining us today, but we'll have another episode soon. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.